Hey, it's Webs here, and it's time to break some eggs so we can get a winning combo with Drek'thar Warlock. And to make any good Drek'thar deck, you need to abuse some type of keyword. The keyword in question for this deck is Deathrattle, which should give it a little bit of a unique twist on the stereotypical Drek'thar decks found in either Warrior or Paladin. And this deck actually works surprisingly well. The overall playstyle of this deck is similar to ZooLock, though because it has Drek'thar, there are some big power plays that you need to know that can happen within this deck. First being a combo between Wicked Whispers and Bone Web Egg. If you actually have these two cards in your opening hand together and no one cost card in your opening hand besides Wicked Whispers, you can actually put a lot of pressure on the board where you can actually win the game pretty quickly. Like I said before though, if you do have a one cost card in the opening hand along with those two cards, it is very easy to actually misplay with this combo, as I did in the clip behind me right now. If you do have it in your opening hand and you can actually play a one cost card for it on turn 1, people still won't be able to deal with this combo on turn 2, so it's still a good combo to keep in your opening hand. Another powerful combo you can actually do is between Desecrated Graveyard and Drek'thar. This allows you to actually get 12 worth of stats for a 4 cost minion, which is quite insane. Definitely is another combo that can actually just instantly win you the game if you get it out early enough. Though those are best case scenarios and those don't always happen, the deck does have a lot of leg to stand on when it comes to playability outside of those combos, just because of the fact that you have a lot of ways to actually death rattles multiple times, and then you can also finish off your opponent with a Tasman's Phylactery, copying a Nerubian Egg on a bunch of Wicked Shipment Imps. This will just allow you to have a big board that your opponent won't want to deal with. Tasman can also allow you to actually have 2 Tasman Phylactery turns, which is pretty good in the deck too. So the Mulligan guide of this deck is a little bit more complex than some of the other decks I put out in the past. If you have Wicked Whispers and Bone Web Egg and not a Grimoire of Sacrifice in your opening hand, you should probably keep both Wicked Whispers and the Bone Webbed Egg, just because you can play any of these other one cost cards besides Grimoire on turn 1 and then have this as your turn 2 play, which is still going to be pretty devastating. And if you're in a minion based matchup, Drain Soul is always great to keep in your opening hand, along with Grimoire of Sacrifice and Nerubian Egg. I know that's kind of anti-synergistic with these two if you keep them, but that allows you to actually board clear your opponent and they're not going to really expect it, and you'll get a 4/4 out of it. Desecrated Graveyard is pretty good to keep in your opening hand too, but really this depends if you have a bunch of Deathrattle minions in your opening hand besides Death and Cultists. And finally, the key card in the entire deck that you will want to keep in your opening hand is Drek'thar. This allows you to have a big turn 4 or turn 3 play, depending if you have the coin or not, and the main reason why you're actually running the deck the way that you're running it. With that being said, let's go into some games. Time for a game against Shaman. Okay, this opening hand isn't the worst. You can use Grimoire if we really feel like it to trigger the Bone Web Egg. And we also have free emissions, so we can actually draw into additional minions if we really need to. Wicked Shipment, we can just shuffle back into the deck. Okay, so they're Questline Shaman. It's been a while since I've seen Questline Shaman. Okay, so we do have a turn 2 play. We're just going to play the egg here. Hopefully they'll put down some minions so we can actually instantly kill our egg with a Grimoire. Okay, so they're just going to hit our face with Lightning Bolt, which probably means they're not going to play anything else. We're going to probably play free emissions here, draw into a Death's Head and Drek'thar, which is perfect, especially because it's on curve, so we can actually play it just next turn. Though that is something that we didn't really want to see, because it actually will go through the Deathrattle. Good news is they won't have a next turn. Oh wait, never mind, they complete the first part of their quest line, so I guess they do. Okay, so we're just going to play Drek'thar, and then we're going to get a egg and a villager. The villager is alright, but the egg is pretty decent, especially if we can get a Desecrated Graveyard soon. And it does serve as a way to actually have some AoE on the board, just in case too. Okay, so Feral Spirits. The sad thing about the Grimoire is that won't kill the Feral Spirits, but we should be able to use a Demonic Assault on one, and then use the Grimoire to get it lower, or just go with Drek'thar. Doesn't really matter, I guess. Now, if they have a second Perpetual Flame, we might be a little bit off. That is not a card I expected in Questline Shaman. Kind of interesting to see. Okay, so Overdraft, I mean. I'm going to kill Drek'thar, which is fine. Just going to go face with our 2 minions and then use free emissions, grabbing the second egg and Tasman. That's actually not that bad. Though I do wish we had a Wicked Whispers in our hand just so we could buff everything up here, but oh well. Okay, so Guild Trader is what they chose. Is the second one going to be... Oh, Lady Vash. That's not a bad one to actually get. Okay, we're going to see what we get here. Grabbing the Mosher just because it gives us some type of healing, while also allowing us to kill the Lady Vash. Just going to go face with the other minions and put down a Piggy Bank Imp. Okay, so Multicaster. That's actually a pretty good card in a Questline Shaman deck, I guess. Just because I think Shaman has access to 4 different schools of magic, maybe 5. That's actually might be the reason why Snowball Fight is actually in the deck, thinking about it. Okay, so that needs to die instantly. We definitely have ways to kill it instantly, it's just we need to kill that instantly. Okay, so they're going to kill the Imp. There's our Desecrated Graveyard. That's kind of interesting to see, though we don't really need it right now. Let's kill the egg, which gets us a 4/4. And then attack with the Mosher into it. Use Desecrated. Put down the second egg, so we have space. And then go face with our other minions. Now we have a lot of 4/4s. So unless they have some type of spell damage, they can't actually clear us pretty easily. Okay, that is not something I wanted to see. Okay, Guidance. Wind Chill. Basically, we're going to kill another one of our minions. This actually isn't that bad of a position to be in. We do have Drain Soul to get rid of both of the minions if we really feel like it. We're just going to go face. Then we're off of lethal by 2, I think. So we're just going to use this on... or use our hero power. Wicked Whispers is something that I would have wanted to see before I had attacked. We would have actually gotten lethal there. But oh well. Sometimes you just can't read the future, you know? This is why you always use your hero power whenever you can. Okay, so that's going to be a little bit more annoying to deal with. Just because they can actually do a bunch of damage to our board. And then I'm assuming they're going to restore HP. Though they only have 1 mana, which means unless they use something to instantly kill our entire board, we should be able to still win with our Wicked Whispers in hand. Perfect. We're going to kill that. We're going to put down the 1/1. Use Wicked Whispers, which discounts the second copy of Wicked Whispers. Not something that I actually would have thought of, but it is what it is. Then we're just going to get in for lethal. Okay, time for a mage game. This hand actually looks pretty decent overall. Gonna mulligan away the Drain Soul just because it is mage. Wicked Shipment is a good turn 1 play just so we can actually shuffle back into the deck. Okay, the second Graveyard. That's not something I wanted to see, but it is what it is. Getting Drain Soul, so it didn't even matter if we mulliganed it away. Okay, so we're just going to play down the egg. They can probably instantly kill it if they really feel like it, but it doesn't even matter if they do or not, because we still do get our graveyard out next turn no matter what. And drawing into Demonic Assault actually is pretty good too, because it gives us more fodder for the graveyard. Wicked Whispers is something I would have liked before I played the egg, but oh well. I'm gonna get 2 2/1s and a 4/4. Next turn, we kind of have a little bit of a hard decision. We can either play Demonic Assault to get 2 more minions out on board, or we can play Wicked Shipment, or Wicked Whispers, I mean. But going to go with the Demonic Assault, puts us with 2 taunts on board, and 3 minions instead of what we would have had before. Okay, so their hero power, I guess, they haven't made their hero power any bit stronger, so that doesn't actually do anything. Unless they have a fire cell, I guess they could, but it doesn't look like it so far. I'm gonna play down our minion, then go face. I'm less worried about them actually having enough damage because of the quest line. As long as they don't scale it quickly, I guess. Well, they're not quest line, they're hero power, sorry. Okay, so that's probably going to be Ice Barrier. Okay, so we do get Tasman. So Tasman is interesting for the following up turn, but we can just put her down right now. Going to kill the minion, then going to use Wicked Whispers, which will get us 2 0-cost cards in our hand, and it does destroy the one that I wanted it to. Waiting to use the Wicked Whispers until a following turn when we have a lot of cards on board. Nice thing about giving Tasman +1 HP is it puts her out of range of most mage spells. Okay, so if they put down Talion, that's interesting. Possess Villager is also kind of interesting, because we can instantly kill our Villager, get rid of the Divine Shield, use Wicked Whispers to get rid of the 0-cost card, and then just attack with Tasman and then go face. Hero power here. Demonic Assault is actually a pretty good top deck. And we are still below having a Fire Eye on the opponent's board, so we should be good. They might have a Fire Cell, which would be a little bit bad, but it is what it is if they do have it. Okay, Arcane Overflow, not something I expected out of that deck. I guess it's just big Spell Mage with some hero power package thrown into it. Okay, so we drew into Demonic Studies. Thinking about using Demonic Assault to go face, then Tasman's Phylactery, but let's see what we generate off of Studies first. Going to decide on the Desk Imp just for shits and giggles. Then we're going to take the Felsoul Jailer because we know they have their Fire Eye in hand. And then we still have enough mana to actually use the Phylactery, and we do hit the Fire Eye, which is exactly what we wanted. We're just going to play down our minions. And our opponent's going to give up. Right, time for a game against Druid. This is a really good opening hand. I'm going to mulligan away Tasman just because of the fact that we don't need her yet. But the other 3 cards we want to keep here. Death's Head Cultist isn't the best card that we could have changed that out for, but it is still a pretty decent card. Alright, so we don't really have a turn 1 play here. We could coin out the egg if we really felt like it. Then we'd be behind on the Desecrated Grounds and Drek'thar, so I'm not going to do that. We're going to play Wand Maker, so they're Ramp Druid, I think. I'm going to play the egg down, because there are no chances that they actually kill the egg, right? And there's no way they can actually do anything that makes the egg's Deathrattle not trigger. So they are Ramp Druid, or at least using Overgrowth. So we're going to coin out Drek'thar, getting a Nerubian Egg and an Imp. It's interesting. Not a card I expected. Maybe they're Ramp with Corrupt Package in it, which can be a little bit annoying, but we do have a good hand, so it shouldn't be that big of an issue. There's 2 ways we can do next turn. We could either trade in the Wicked Shipment before we use our graveyard, or we could use it afterwards. We're going to do it afterwards just because we're going to assume whatever we drew wasn't useful. Tasman is something that's nice to see, but I think it's a little bit too early for it, especially because we're having a board full of 4/4s right now. That's a card that I never expected. Oh, I guess it's off of guidance, so it makes a little bit of sense. We're going to board clear us a little bit here. That's going to suck, but they do leave the egg up, so it's going to be destroyed next turn no matter what. And they are leaving the 4/1 up, which is kind of interesting. Oh, they're not going to leave up the egg. Okay. I'm okay with them triggering the egg, just because we do have other ways to actually buff up our minions here. I'm going to put the Villager down just because of the fact that if they are Ramp Druid, a Drained Soul isn't going to do much against it. And we could have actually used the Wicked Whispers, but I'd just rather have the 4/4 also get buffed here. A second Runic Carve. Out of all the cards that they could have randomly generated, that is one of the most annoying ones that they could have. Well, we have a choice here. We could either destroy our entire board or just play more. I'm assuming they're going to probably have some type of other answer, which is why I'm not using the Wicked Whispers yet. Okay, Moonlit Guidance. Wildheart Guff. I think that might be a little bit too late actually here. Though it just depends on how fast they can ramp up after using that. Hey, Bog Beam. That's really annoying, and I'm actually kind of shocked people haven't been using it. And that is what we wanted to see. We're going to do a 50-50 risk of discounting the card that we actually wanted or not. And we do not hit that 50-50 risk. They are at 10 HP, so we should win the game pretty quickly from this position though. There isn't many cards they could actually play to come back. A Yogg-Saron could actually help, I guess. I wonder if they're playing the weird Ibis deck that I've seen on Reddit a few times, where they don't play any high cost cards besides Guff, and then they can instantly draw into it. It's a cool deck idea, I just don't really care about going up in rank that much, so I haven't really messed around with it much. But I do know from my own Ibis deck that it is a very powerful deck. So that is a minion that I wish they wouldn't have gotten, but it's still fine. We won't be able to kill them next turn, but we should be able to get pretty close. That is the perfect top deck, so we can just go face. I'm going to see what we get here. Going to use the free emissions. Draw our 2 minions. Put down the 1 drop. We're going to see what they get off of Resizing Pouch. Ishari, that is not something I wanted to see them get off of that card. Just because of the fact that they'll gain a shit ton of armor here. Though we should still win the game next turn if they pass it back to us. And they give up. Alright, now that we're through the games, let's discuss my final thoughts of the deck. So overall, the deck actually performed incredibly well. It had around a 50% win rate when I was playtesting it across 50 games, which is actually kind of a shock. I did not expect it to be that high, given the fact that some of the more meta-relevant decks are actually getting nerfed tomorrow. I do think this will shoot up in playability by a little bit more. It just depends on how the meta actually shapes up afterward. Though it does have a lot of big impactful turns that most decks can't actually handle besides some control decks. But you're not usually going to be trying to go for a long game anyways with this deck. So you do have some playable tools to actually help you in the long game, such as Demonic Studies to try to generate a high cost minion, or a Dreadlich Tasman just so you can actually go infinite with your minions. But usually you don't ever need to rely on any of those, and you're relying mainly on the Deathrattles within the deck itself. Overall, I would say I could easily recommend this deck just because it is a pretty decent deck, and it does play into the ZooLock strategy, which a lot of players actually enjoy, and it does follow a Drek'thar style deck. So if you wanted another Drek'thar deck that isn't in one of the stereotypical classes, this would be the deck for you. And if you enjoyed the video, please leave a like, comment, and subscribe. And until next time, bye bye.